Welcome to the Deep Dive, where we filter through the noise to bring you the core insights.
Hmm.
Today, we're tackling a huge topic, happiness.
Yeah,
But we're looking at it through a really interesting lens, brain science.
that's right. We're digging into the neurology of it all, specifically using research from Professor Hyoungbin Park at Seoul National University of Education. The idea is to unpack what the science tells us about happiness itself, and maybe surprisingly, what that means for things like moral education.
Okay, yeah, let's start there. The source material mentions the traditional ways we think about happiness. There are sort of two main camps, aren't there?
Exactly. For a long time, it's been split into, well, hedonia and eudonia.
Hedonic. That's
Uh,
the straightforward pleasure
Yeah.
stuff, right? Like
Yeah.
sensory enjoyment, feeling good, avoiding pain.
Yep, precisely. That immediate feeling, great food, music you love, that kind of thing, pure enjoyment.
Yeah.
Eudaimonia, though, is, well, seen as deeper. It's tied to living a meaningful life, growing as a person, authenticity, virtue, flourishing, basically.
Than just fleeting pleasure.
Ex-
Okay, so Professor Park's work adds this narrow layer. It's saying happiness isn't just a feeling or a philosophy.
Mhm.
There's actual physical stuff happening in our brains.
Yes, and what's really interesting is how different kinds of pleasure seem to activate common brain pathways. Think food, music, even seeing people you care about, they can all tap into this sort of core pleasure network.
Hmm.
Areas like the nucleus accumbens, the amygdala.
Hmm. So the brain, at some level, isn't making a massive distinction between, say, chocolate and chatting with a friend. It's hitting similar reward buttons.
Well, yeah, at a fundamental level, they can both activate that network, and neurotransmitters are key here. Dopamine, oxytocin.
Right. Dopamine for reward, motivation, achieving goals.
And oxytocin, often called the bonding hormone, it's linked to trust, social connection. So close relationships literally trigger chemical releases that feel like happiness, promoting solidarity.
That kind of challenges how we might value things, doesn't it? Is the research saying social pleasure is genuinely on par with basic sensory pleasure for the brain?
It seems so. The source really emphasizes that social enjoyment lights up the brain's pleasure systems just as effectively. It shows how biologically fundamental connection is for us.
Okay, that makes sense for basic stuff and social bonds.
Yeah.
But what about those higher order pleasures, the eudaimonia kind of things, altruism, art appreciation, living morally? How does the brain handle that?
Now, this is where it gets really fascinating. These more complex, abstract experiences, they also activate the reward systems. But here's the kicker. Unlike maybe simple sensory pleasure, these higher level pleasures seem to be things we can learn and cultivate. The brain's ability to experience this kind of well-being isn't fixed. It can be trained, improved.
Wow, okay, and that leads directly into the implications for moral education, right? The core idea seems to be that doing good, being empathetic, caring, connecting, isn't just some duty we have to perform.
Exactly. It can actually be a source of genuine neurological pleasure, like real satisfaction, acting kindly, connecting deeply. It can trigger those same reward centers, maybe release dopamine, oxytocin.
So being moral isn't necessarily about sacrificing your own happiness for some abstract good. It can be a pathway to a deep kind of happiness, one grounded in our brain chemistry.
Right. Which reframes moral education entirely.
It's not just about teaching rules or obligations anymore. It could be about teaching people how to access that profound satisfaction, that joy
Yeah.
that comes from, well, eudaimonic kinds of pleasures, living well, connecting well.
It's a neat bridge between ancient philosophy about virtue and modern neuroscience.
So wrapping up this dive into Professor Park's research, the big takeaway.
I think it's that brain science is suggesting living a connected, caring, maybe even virtuous life isn't separate from happiness. It can literally be a source of neurological reward.
It connects goodness and feeling good right inside our heads.
Yeah.
It sort of merges hedonia and eudaimonia.
Yeah, in a way.
So here's something to think about. If our brains are wired to find genuine pleasure and reward in connection, in meaning, and doing good, what does that suggest about how you might prioritize different kinds of happiness in your own life? It definitely gives finding joy in doing good a whole new layer.